Okay, it looks like we are going. Ladies and gentlemen, he's going to do the reading and then we'll get started. Thank you so much for your kind attention, even though you're not even paying attention. Hey! One more round of applause for crying out loud. I almost said for shit's sake. I don't like saying for shit's sake. It's a terrible thing to say, especially when people are eating.
Poetry of all kinds, ladies and gents, is welcome, but we do ask you to respect the mic.
Mike.
Mike and Ike, if you're eating candy. Keep conversations to a whisper. Put phones on mute, or vibrate, baby. If you got the feeling, vibrate.
Sorry.
Duda man, can you vibrate?
Vibrate.
And do not distract the speakers, or pass in front of them,
or pass,
or play your bass. Also, keep to the time limit. Eternity. Usually 5 minutes, but that can change. Oh, time can change.
Time can change.
Remember, we've 2 shows, the 7-ish.
And the
840-ish. And the Dr. Seuss-ish.
And the wish dish.
So I ask for generosity, but does it get me anywhere? Hell no. Hell no. By going short.
I can't do that.
It helps to get everyone on the mic. You know, like angels on the head of a pin. Right. Okay.
And
if you want to be in the loop, whoop-de-doop. We've an opt-in mail list, a Facebook page, and we stream live thanks to the Natch.
The Natch.
The Mr. The Mr. Mystery. Mr. Natural. Remember, the ongoing theme, never doubt that a small group of committed citizens can change the world. Sold American, it's the only thing that ever has. Margaret Mead.
Margaret
Mead is the only thing that
Called
ever
her
has.
Margie in the day back then.
We have Margaret Mead. The evening's theme is your favorite candy. It can't be your girlfriend. Okay, also next week's feature will be... Next week's feature will be...
Bobby Coleman, a lawyer and person who was involved with this SF Tenants Union, and he's a singer, songwriter, poet, and many other things.
Can you dig it?
I can dig it.
Now, as to the first show, the keynote will be...
Keynote is Mr. Britt Peter.
Britt Peters!
Who's in the house, as we like to say.
Our feature is a 3-headed hydra. It is...
Tommy, Abacola Mecca, we got Greg Pond and Ed Mike Q. They're all combining to do something special. We haven't had a chance to talk about it, so it'll be as much a surprise to me as it is to you. Thanks
and who will give the Queen's wave?
When they, you know.
As to the second show, the last word, the Sanderell.
Thank you.
Cursive writer will be... And the mini feature is
Jeff Kalis. I don't know if he's in the house. Is he in the house?
Jeff, are you here? Jeff, calling
Not
Jeff.
yet.
Jeff, white courtesy telephone. Jeff is not here yet.
Why is it always a white courtesy telephone?
Green courtesy telephone. The rainbow courtesy telephone. Jeff, where are you, brother? Are you?
Am I here? Am I here?
Okay.
Am I here? Am I here?
And we have fabulous store prizes.
Oh.
Hit it, Dan.
Fabulous store prizes. Now, if you take a very close look at this, which you can't because you're too far away to see it.
Oh.
This volume is titled "Smash the Church, Smash the State: The Early Years of Gay Liberation," and is edited by Tommy Abacola Mecca.
Yeah.
So this is his effort on our behalf, and his behalf, and their behalf. And if you want to grow psilocybin, this is your book. Want to know about hedgehogs? Why, here is over 200 facts about that. And Time as the science edition of Families, Happiness, Understanding, Challenges, and Growth. So that's Time magazine. So 100 places that will change your life. This place should not be amongst those. God help us. And then Time, Women Changing the World. Thank God for that. And then if those aren't exciting enough for you, and you can choose to have the last word, which you start and end the second show. Keynote, who always kicks off the show with show with reading something of theirs, and then they come back later. Choosing the theme of prompt, which today is favorite candy bar. Right?
And favorite candy.
Co-pilot, she decided to be here, unfortunately for her. And then the mini feature, an 8-minute selection in the second half. Those are the things that we have there, and we're...
Small people who get 8 minutes.
Yes, and so we are ready to go, and I would say, judging from what's been happening here, we should probably make sure you stay within the time limit or go short because the house is filling and we have 2 shows. But he's going to tell you about it.
Although we record the evening, if an audience member wishes to do so, please ask permission. we will assume you've done so. That's it. I'm done. I'm out of here.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Give him a round of applause, or a dodecahedron of applause. Man. Oh, just so you know, while people are milling about, you'll probably remember over the last 2 or 3 years, there was a period of time where I read what I called Proposition 1, which was an anti-war proposition. There are now 5 of them, and somewhere soon I'll be bringing them back so I can garner votes for the support of these very auspicious intentions. Not tonight, however, because we have so much on the docket that I can't even believe my own ears. All right, so give it Brady. He's ready to go. And let me get him in there. There we go. There you go.
Okay, this is The Invisible Horseman by Lauren Isley. Bandit, revolutionary, hard rider. He crossed the border and raided Columbus, New Mexico in 1916. I remember my father bringing the papers. After that, the kids all over the West played Pancho Villa for weeks and were secretly pleased when Pershing never caught up. Who wants the stern father ever to catch up to the hidden hideout, the place where the horses are tethered for a fast getaway, the hole in the wall? But then the war came and we stretched black tar paper over frames of lath and took off from the barn roof to our later sorrow and discomfiture, or ran about in the frames, maneuvering like bats with the Lafayette escadrille. But all of that was even then too big for my sure comprehension. Too many orders, discipline. I had played Pancho Villa. I was the one horseman among us who simply never stopped running into maturity. I never found the hole in the wall. I never found Pancho Villa country where you see the enemy first. Still, I am the invisible horseman. I am among you, breathless but still running. You haven't caught me. I am hiding in my own way. My face only looks mature.
All right. Oh, here you go. Our opener of the evening. So try to keep it brief because we have a packed house, as it were. Not an impacted house. So I'm going to read the next 5 readers so people will know when they come up and they don't get completely surprised like I do. So we have Stephanie, then Britt coming back. Like I say, the keynote always comes back to do his own, or her own. I can't read this. S-I-M-M-E-S?
D-N Simmons.
Huh?
D-N.
Oh, D. Okay. So are you new here? You're not the first time, right? Okay. All right. And then we got Alice, J.C., who I haven't seen in a million years, Owen, and Dudermont. So give Stephanie a round of applause. Try to keep within the 5 or go short. And we'll get this show on the showboat on the road, as the mom used to say. Yeah.
It's called Strange Life. Life, strange indeed. Brother and sister humans come here believing it's just got to be better in the U.S. Suffer the blistering heat, and the kids demand to know when we're going to get there, in Spanish or Hawaiian. Mother plays with them on their blanket at night, but she cannot sleep, alert to every sound, while Dad lies awake with worry. Will they survive this journey? Is it worth it? Some pray. Day after day they walk or ride in the back of a truck, and after all this they arrive just in time to be separated from each other to a concentration camp, American style. The parents' hearts break as they see their children burst into tears. The strong ones do, others too sick to cry. And our hearts break at the horror. Angry people find another reason for anger. Every American knows who caused this. Life, strange indeed. And I'm about to go on a big long train trip to see my cousin. And so I've been thinking about trains, and this one is called Approaching the Vanishing Point. Many living humans get on this train of life with its engine loud and horn blaring. Many humans, whether born into poverty and misery or into wealth and luxury, up onto the train they climb and off they go, into the vanishing perspective as color appears and the sun rises higher in the sky. They chat and stick to themselves. They chat or stick to themselves, emotions all bound up tightly. How far will they go? Some get off at the next station. Some will ride the train to the end of the line. It depends on the engine, the brakes, and the gears against the system. Now to sit back and let it take us there, with many unknown variables. And just remember, you can always get off at the next station, but consider staying on till the end. The last part is always the best.
All right, Britt coming back, and then say that again. I'm sorry.
D-N.
DN.
D-N.
DN. Okay. There we go. Thank you, Britt.
Okay. What's done in our name? A congressional visit to El Paso. Cages under freeways. Faces at the window, blurred by bureaucrats. They called those overcrowded rooms iceboxes. Hundreds of seekers locked up, each with a voice and story. Do something about it, God damn it. Tonight's theme. What's your favorite candy? Poetry and jazz, a good meal. Next question. 2. There was a candy store on Main Street in the old town. Those days are gone for me, but I went in with a friend. Barrels of sweet rocks, jawbreakers, and sugar-sifted orange slices, chocolate-covered ants. My friend took his time in choosing, leaving the store with a small bag of happiness. I'll try to get through this quick.
All right.
Jazz. Through the window, out the door, down the street, jazz carries. Certainly in my mind, for years, stuck and growing. Ella's saucy basket, Ram Hall's two-beat drum, energy and drive. The armory of Kirk's horns, his penny whistle. Unique images of flashing beauty, Billy's moonlight, Monk brooding at midnight. The doors at the 5 spot were like an old western saloon, through which I heard Ornette's modern but straightforward plastic horn. Jazz, always tweaking the stayed, blowing past it, just won't go away. Oobop shibam, the stick against the rim. Can you dig it?
Yeah. All right, DN is coming up, and then we got JC, Owen, Dudemont, Vincent, David, myself, and Jackson Pollock.
There we go. A little lower.
Alex, oh, you're on there.
There we go. Just give me one of his paintings and I'll leave.
There we go.
Okay, I do have a new book out, The Red School Bus, and I have one copy, so it's $10. It just came out 3 weeks ago. I'm from Vancouver, Canada. I come here once a year. This is my 3rd year, and thank you. So the poem I'm doing is actually going to be in the Monterey Poetry Review. The new editor, Jennifer Lager, is going to publish 3 of my poems, and one of them is. She wants to take the. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So this one is, in the old days, I used to come down here in the 60s, 67, 68, 69, about the same time Joan Didion was doing her little notes, and I'd be hanging out at Haight-Ashbury and some of the buildings there, and in a circle, and lots of smoke and all those things. But what I was doing is I'd come down here to San Francisco, and then I would go to LA, and I would serve. And starting in '67, I went once to Santa Cruz and learn how to body surf. Last year when we came back, we went to the Alameda flea market, and an old surfer and I were kibitzing about it. So this is sort of a combination of those kind of ideas. And as I say, it's in the Monterey Poetry Review this summer issue, called Body Surfing in Santa Cruz. Took the ferry to Alameda flea market. Met an old surfer selling an old surfboard and stuff with his wife. And he lived in Santa Cruz. We started to talk about surfing and about Santa Cruz and body surfing. This is me. So I'm 19, I smile and he nods. I'm on the beach in Santa Cruz, just there for the day from San Diego. He grins. I see these guys with no boards, way out, and they are body surfing, catching waves. He laughs and nods again. So I had my bathing suit on my clothes, so I stripped down and I dived in, splash. I made the arm motions for the dive. He nodded again, and so did his wife. Man, the first wave took me up like the hand of a sea god was with me, and I was flying above the beach and going towards the rocks, you know, the ones covered with all those razor sharp shells. Ouch, he cringed. Cut my feet to ribbons. So I told him how I did a few runs, and each run I ran into the rocks. Then they told me how to bail out early. He shouted to his wife and turns to me. I learned to body surf there, and then went on to surfing with a big board. I continued. My feet were so bloody, I had to wrap them in a towel around them for the rest of the visit. He said it was cool talking to another surfer, and I added, you know, even though I got scars from the rocks and things, I had a big smile on my face. All the way back that night, I gave him my card, and we shook hands. Two old men with gray-white hair that were remembering an early special time in their lives. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Alice. This is Alice Rogoff, ladies and gentlemen. Give her a nice, respectful Alice. Haight-Ashbury Literary Journal.
I have some journals with me and also some books. And I'm going to start with a song. And I'm thinking this is for Ed and Tommy and Greg, and also my next poem. Bird song, bell song, coming from the smiles in the trees. Wind song, well song, undercurrent waters in the breeze. I can sing with the birds, yeah. I can fly with the wind. I can dream that life is a dream. I can dream again. 3 days of storms blows the trees back and forth, but not enough for the nest to fall. Bird song, bell song, coming from the light in the leaves. Wind song, well song, robin soaring with the eagles. I can dream in tender shades of green. I can see what I want things to mean. I can see my own kind of sanity. Bird song, bell song, on the other side of tears. I can dream again. And this is called 1967 and senior year in high school. It was held in the gymnasium, not the auditorium, on bleachers, almost like a sports event. a man came to tell us not to take drugs. It was 1967, but it was not only drugs he was against. He warned us against Allen Ginsberg, the homosexual author. Everything that Ginsberg stood for, the man shouted out like a drill sergeant. Was I the only one who wondered why he could say all the things he was saying? 3,000 of us left the gym through the 2 doors, and as I got to the door wanting air, a high school boy fell down on the tan gym floor, 3 feet from my feet, twisting and kicking, having an epileptic seizure in front of the entire student body, filing by him in 3s and 4s, a student body of 3,000 students. All of our eyes were fixed on his form for a moment. It was my senior year in high school, and all I wanted was to write poetry like Allen Ginsberg and to keep moving into the air.
JC, and then Owen, then Dudemont, then Vincent. In case I forget. Give him a nice round. He hasn't been here in like 552,743 centuries. Or it seems like that. Oh, you gotta get talk right
And I'm
into
from the
it.
Santa Cruz Mountains.
Okay.
So, I'd like to start off with Road Hypnotic. The roll peels up in my face. The yellow line is but a crack, which blows up my adventurous nostrils. Whether winding deliriums or straight desert doldrums, it rips my mind away every day. I'm addicted to roaming. No stopping itching pants wanderlust. A certain love of distances carries my life to character eyes, revealing stories, vagaries of other people's lives as they greet the traveler vacancies. I am hooked on highways. Reality runs in their veins to capillary odysseys, in search of an eternal rainbow's end. There is this call as the road hums by, and I am hypnotized by its hum. This is an old one, which you expect from old guys like me. 1970 San Francisco.
Oh boy.
Flashes keep reminding me. Flashes keep reminding me of past and future events. Sometimes it doesn't even make much sense. Why do I carry on the way I do? Out of control. Onto another flashy time spent in and out of laughter. Revolving like Russian roulette, aimed at something nobler than what we're now experiencing. Flashes keep reminding me of lovely sorrow and sorry love. I didn't mean it to be this way, but the patterns change and sometimes cause a delay or speed up of the reactions. Anyway. Flashes keep reminding me of bittersweet nights of jazz, long roads and dark alleys swept with salt sea air, good enough to eat. Well, almost real things happen in the fog of San Francisco, tuning in on Alcatraz with a giant finger of mist far out. Flashes keep reminding me of pretty girls peeking through fog transit cars, sporadically pieced with street scenes of people trying to make life important. I already thought it was. Different attitudes shape and shake us to our bones, and face to face with ourselves again, we cry out, relieved. A world too quickly passing. 67, Pacific Grove. A world too quickly passing, through confusion too much learned, the bulk often distorted pushes us around each turn, and those who glow the brightest will be the first to burn. In a mass of many lies, truth and innocence can't be discerned, causing us to progress away from what we once yearned, for even idealists with stressing fears are capable of being word. When the force explosion of knowledge threatens to erupt from contradicting thoughts of which we've chose to sup, When the mind in pressure pain seemingly falls corrupt, for safety we must not remain within the cruel cup. Flee then outside of reality, and see your head is hushed to all the thoughts from which evil forces have gushed, or find yourself with all the rest lying in the slush, subject to the queer violence of those who love to crush. Okay, so light up on you a little bit here. This is an introspective poem. So weird. Yahoo invalidated me. I can't get my email. The truck is acting up. Will it invalidate me also? Went to the gym, got athlete's foot. I'm not even an athlete. Life has been difficult for weeks. Afraid to ask what's next. Jim's trying to get me busted. Don't even do that stuff anymore. Just got stood up by Julia. Joe just sent me a letter. I'm afraid to open it. Daughter hasn't called back. The ex is turning 50. Crotch rot starting to burn. Cabin's about to fall down. Can't even leave town. Hid my checks so well, I can't find them anywhere. 3 people promised to pay me. Haven't heard from them in weeks. Cat got into the rat poison. I think she'll die. Gave up drink and drugs. Got nothing to cheer me up. Maybe somebody will shoot me. Don't know what to expect next. I could be broke. Forget I said that. I could be in jail. Oh, please forget that too. Trying not to jinx myself. Don't know why I bother. Horoscope says difficult times. Guess that means I'll live. Doctor wants a fortune to cure all my problems. Asked if I had insurance, only for death and dismemberment. Please, turn this shit around. So how's your life been?
All right. Hey, you come on. Then Vincent, then David, then myself.
They said tomorrow's Independence Day. I came across the border, you seen, with my youngster. And when we got to Maraganza, they snatched my youngster from me. Dump truck. No, I went to see my youngster lay dead. My youngster lay dead. Look yonder, my youngster, you seen. And they have a proud to say, she stands proudly, said, bring me your what? And we'll put him in concentration camps. And people say, make him, but I cannot believe a thing what dump trucks say. Everything that dump trucks say, do not believe it. And yet, we crossed the great water again. They say when you walk through it, you glow in the dark. You can see when you get there. And they said, tomorrow the great dump truck will stand proudly. And they grabbed the great dump truck off the stand and lock him in the concentration camp. The dump truck would see what it means. Because when it's time, the dog tribe will come great Kodiak riders would ride across the plains of time. Hum. Come on, kids, let's go. Woo!
So Owen is up, and then we got Vincent. Made a mistake there. You guys watch me. I make mistakes all the hell. There we go.
Who's up? Who's up next?
Oh no, he was actually before the other guy. I made a mistake.
Everybody hear me.
What?
Everybody hear me.
There we go. Now we're good. Oh, let me change this.
Christian Sonnet. In the year of crowded fame and cacophonous voices 2002, ending on its funny duo of joy and overwork, scant acclaim when riding out on sunny flames to slushy weather, fog and dew. Together on the street, Christian and Jew, riding together on their same vain differences, her hair long, his too short, bitching together, both wrong. She practical, he a snorting skinhead. Erect together the day long. A benighted couple, they I turn from, the sky is gray. Days of dark-eyed Buddha. Whale and seagulls walk together around the gray clouded sky, afar off to westward Hawaii, afar off eastward to China. Cocky freighters, lonely tankers give rise to new areas of the anterior mind, wondering how some of these men keep their proud, lonely vigils to themselves. Their visions of slickers, oars, and dory boats speak proudly, talking of kimonos and martini-drinking mermaids, and roaring tattoos of some World War II war bride. Yes, hypnotic waves stand still today as they did yesterday, as a couple like the small couple on top of a wedding cake cross the lawn to evermore and yesterday. A quiet salute to the soothing vacuity of impending Christmas and roistering New Year, and give way to blustery, windy January and the impenetrable gray sky that can last forever. I am searching for a metaphor to be alive in the dust of wintry snowfall. Sorcery. A chick looks heavenward towards Michelangelo's ceiling of David. The sky needs fixing, she commands. Herod. His mind set to matter causes the magic ceiling to make matters worse, to dance a mild tremor of accusation. Brainwashed. The gray sky that can last forever and forever. All day long people outfooting and dancing lightly in a curious combination of hockey and ballet or an amusement park ride. Frenchmen from Renoir and Syrah almost affectionately bumping into each other. Like social graces that laugh louder and louder, taught to me long ago by Mrs. Galatz at her moody, dreaming April love-like cotillion. Oops, I said that in roistering, dirty, torn shirt San Francisco. Men climbing up the clouds into the deadening silence, into the sunny, stormy late afternoon. Overload. In the busload of virgins, that wayward bus careening up from the sunlit street, this paradox of virgins resembling a right-angled trap of sentences to winter polar, a birdless sky of cloudless, hopeless Himalayan rays, talking to a heaven of the chances that love and confusion will crown itself king and reign supreme in the sweetest year of our Lord, 2003. I am the man of imagination. I am the man of imagination who sits atop a graceless telephone wire in a village in southern Alaska, in a village belonging to Osiris. I'm the man of imagination who flutters the wings of a small sparrow into the aloof smile of the wing of the condor. I'm the man of imagination turned into a speckled deer in a corner of the fleet-footed dappled forest. I am the man of imagination who teaches every grain of sand on the seaweed-filled beach to cry open tears of pain for the slain blood of Abel, and who shouts barefooted to the flies sitting on the driftwood. I'm the man of imagination who tries to turn the serene foam of the sea to the red-hot blot of the blood of man. I'm the man of imagination.
Thank you, Mr. Owen.
Thank you very much.
Now, Vince, sorry, I did the order out of order.
That's cool.
So, but you're here.
I'd
Give
rather
him a round of applause. Come on, people. Wake it up out there.
I'd rather follow him than Pt1.
All right. Well, there you go.
It's been 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Count them.
And thank you, Sharon, for the theme. We're going to start because we have Tommy and Greg. So I wrote a haiku for you all. It's the best I could do. This is called Pride. Memories of love, much life has traveled through us, embracing today. It's short. So if people aren't aware, City and County of San Francisco, they're approving their budgets, and City College there's a lot of things damning City College, so especially where they want to cut and how they want to do things and how they want to change it from a community college to a transfer. So this is called Community of Dreamers. This is for City College. The rumors from Frida Calloway have been flowing like a raging river. The cuts are coming like a fish of a wooden board, every chop, every significant sliver. Start at the head and soon all will rot. Everything we've worked for since 1935, all for naught. We are feeling scorn. There is no more immunity in our institution, our CCSF, the land of community. It won't lead to a degree, says the leader of it all. It's not about the money, but we all know that's false. We are black, white, Asian, gay, women, and trans. We are not just discolored opaque beans on your ill-advised plans. We have learned to become more acceptable, responsible, and productive members of society. As published writers, small business owners, and artists, no one can pin us down. We are bonded of every variety. From the windows reflecting from the Science Building to Cloud Hall, across to the Rosenberg Library, there are fresh minds lighting up at Visual Arts Building and Balt Mall. And to the new American citizens at the campuses of Mission and Fourth, we are the future. We continue to dream. We are not complacent. We are a force. Now to the leaders who are failing to commit, remember, we are the voices. Count us. It's time to remit. So don't be on the wrong side of history. We are the voters. We will do whatever is necessary. We're making the calls, ready to assemble, and like the dark years of accreditation, please, please, please don't fuck with our education. I went to visit a friend in the hospital, and I was channeling Sharon when I wrote this. This is called Candy Dreams. The magnolia flower scent lifted off the sidewalk at Magellan Avenue near Forest Hills, lofting through the second story, slightly ajar window as the time morphine went drip, drip, drip. His 87-year-old pancreas was failing. The cells had divided into infinity, but his thoughts were partitioned, beginning to dance, like the shiny plastic-wrapped 10-cent candies, a line just above his 7-year-old hazel eyes, his monthly allowance in quarters, dimes, and nickels jangled in his baby blue front pocket. His sister Lucinda would be in the girls section, stationed in front of the Malibu Barbie dream house, hoping one day to live harmoniously on the beach, the shallow waves licking the fine powdered sand, her array of outfits matching differently interiored rooms. But today, her green veined crepe hand held his, offset against the beige walls of Laguna Honda, as he remembers Bub's daddy, cinnamon bubblegum, staining his tongue and tickling his childlike senses, both of them hand in hand, walking home from Bruce's variety store. His second or third attempt always garnered the largest bubble, exploding back in his face, stretching from cheek to cheek, pulling it off his sun-soaked freckled face, stuffing it back into his watering mouth, and trying again and again. If the endless flavor ever gave out, he would tear off another piece, licking the powdered processed sugar left on his stubby fingers. It was never the sweetness of the candy or the tartness of the chew, but the long summer days into the starry-filled nights, gallivanting amongst the constellations of laughter, now being suffocated from his soul as she hears his flatline announcing the long white light.
Thank you. Perfect. David earned right. I know you know that I know you know you know that I know you know that I know. I'm sorry. I'm stopping.
Shall
now.
we dance?
Yeah, no. Don't let me stop you.
Yeah, that's not hard. You ain't gonna stop me. I won't let you stop me.
All right, dear.
All right, well, I missed last week. I was flat on my ass for 6 days from working too hard. Working. Old man. So, Kaleidoscope, you picked a prompt that I can't romp. Kaleidoscope. Broken bits are held in stasis, rearranged colors amaze us. Shards and edges so employed, held in check beyond the void. My vision bumped into a wall, lay shattered, stuck behind the pole. Kaleidoscope. My favorite candy was, I'm sorry. Excuse me. My favorite candy, one of them, was Goobers, which preceded M&M's peanut. M&M's were just little Goobers, yeah, which we could get at the movies. So, anyhow, deserted by my own devices, I find that words do not suffice. Pain a forfeit, retribution. Silence is my resolution. When I write poetry, I must transform as quickly as possible into you, so that we can share a laugh, experience the same feeling, or explore the universe as one. Man from Texas. I want a man from Texas with a deep bass voice, where the breeze meets the prairie. He's the natural choice. I've seen the western bluebird. She's beautiful, it's true. Her cousin from the mountains capitulates the blues. I've climbed the Chisos Mountains, peak down to Arroyo. I'll be damned, perhaps I am, but this sure ain't Ohio. I want a man from Texas, a finger-picking wizard, whose fingers skid across the frets as quick as any lizard. That man from Texas has a voice deep as a wishing well. Half straight shot, half sweet dreams, those tall tales that he tells. Cactus flower opens one day every year. If he sings, you'll find your wings lose prickles and loose tears. Man from Texas disappeared, then reappeared at night. Seems he used the panhandle to help blot out the light. If you meet the whirlwind that skips from sand to stone, listen closely to her moan, for she is not alone. Tumbleweeds are tumbling. How many people here have seen tumbleweeds?
Tumbleweed.
Okay.
Roll along the tumbleweed.
You gotta watch. Tumbleweeds are tumbling. Hard to believe they're alive. They all stand up and rattle a branch when the man from Texas arrives. Be careful with your water, 110-degree heat. It just might get a little hotter again before we meet. Willie Nelson, Brothers Prime, Johnny Cash all sound just fine. The man from Texas previewed the last picture show, dropped his head, and then he said, I guess it's time to go. A voice we'd call sonorous, it has a simple twang, soothing as a Gilead balm, loud as any bang. Shielded by a cowboy hat, yet face as tan as leather, born to ride, he will abide, disdaining change of weather. Yodeling of coyotes, ignore their yipping scorn. His horse and he are joined to be beneath his saddle horn. I haven't got the courage, nor the need to explain, man from Texas is the conductor on the mystery train. Down to the Gulf, glide the Rio Grande, up Lamato Falcon, in the palm of my hand, disappearing from the neighborhood. How to reverse this trend? Habitat conservation, moving southeast from Big Bend. Almost right next door in Utah, Arches National Park. You might find the man from Texas crooning like a lark. Ocotillo, barrel, saguaro, prickly pear, cactus wren, calls out for him when Texas man ain't there. I want a man from Texas. That day his life has flown, I swear he disappeared in his very own cyclone. And when his ashes trickled down, they formed a little boot. Will and testament or last word, of which this is the root. Obvious to me, my spirit's been set free. Okay, I'll have to re-censor this one. Okay. Just another campaign. Scratch my arms, tear my hair, forecasters of sedition, rape the women, you don't care, masters of perdition, domestic, no, not what foreign does, civilians killed by American scuzz. The chickens have come home to roost, Malcolm X advised us, and that was over 50 years ago. I'll finish that another time, I don't want to jump.
Thank you so much.
Oh, what?
I said thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank him for his kindness. Well, now you've come to me, or I've come to you, or we've come to us. A lot of that coming out there. All right, so candy bar, that's in here. And there's a touch on Independence Day also. It's not 4th of July, but you'll understand what I mean. And I'm putting together a collection of things that are autobiographical for me, poems and whatever. And this is one of the prose-like pieces that are in there. Called Way Back East. That's what we used to call New York. Way Back East. There was a time, long ago now, when I thought the world was safe. This, despite the air raid sirens and being taught to duck and cover in elementary school. As far as I was concerned, the sirens meant getting under your desk, facing away from the windows, and most importantly, it was a break, albeit very brief, from the usual flow of classroom events. God knows what they did to my generation psychologically speaking, but I didn't know what they really meant until I grew up. Now, I remember walking along the sidewalk and seeing what I thought was a 50-cent piece. No, it was a silver dollar. I could read that word dollar on that piece of coin there. It was really big money. With that in hand, I ran off planning to go to a matinee, have a giant buttered popcorn, having no idea what I'd do with all the rest of my treasure, but that didn't matter then. Well, after the film let out, there I was walking along some large street not far from home when the sirens went off. I looked up at the sky, but it was clear and beautifully blue. That's still my favorite color. I looked across the street at this red building, brick building, about 8 to 10 stories high, because the sound seemed to be coming from that. I looked for a place to duck and cover, but I was out in the open, so I stood my ground, partly because no one else was running for cover either. When the blaring cut off, I felt all grown up and confident. I had needed my 2 older brothers, my older sister, all my friends on 207th Street. I knew how to take care of myself. I could cross big streets, knew how to look both ways twice, and always let someone else start on a cross before you go. Also look as you go, because you never know, as my mom said. After all, I was a New Yorker, a Yankees fan, a good kid, a Brady for God's sakes. Each of those things were something to be proud of. Best of all, I hadn't been scared. Most importantly, I had successfully completed my mission. The crawling eye was just great. On my way home, I remember spending some of my remaining treasure on the biggest Hershey's chocolate bar in the world. 25 cents. I ate the whole thing and regretted not having enough money to buy a squirt gun, the really good squirt gun. By the time I got home on that magical day, it was late afternoon. The street was full of kids playing just about every made-up game you could possibly imagine. Adults were sitting on their stoops in groups, visiting, chatting, laughing, and my dad was on our stoop smoking his pipe. I had not been missed at all during my treasure-fueled adventure. I had gotten lucky, saw a movie, eaten my fill of chocolates, and come home back a hero, well, at least in my mind. Yes, I was a hero even though no one knew it. I had energy and ran circles around all those smaller little kids. Then I insisted upon joining the stickball game then in progress. This time, they said I could. Well, I should have been made MVP because I hit the ball twice, got on base and came home both times, caught a long fly ball for an out and helped make a double play. I was in like Flynn. I knew it. Just as I knew life would never be the same, I had made it into the big kids game, and there was no going back.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Tom Holberg. Isn't Tom here?
Yeah.
Oh, there he is. And then we got Karen and then Joseph. Martin Joseph. Joseph Martin Joseph. You know what I mean. And this is Tom. Give him a nice round as he comes up here, please.
Hi there.
Thank you blindly.
Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back.
Glad to be with you again, and thank you for your
inspiration. There you go. I was going to help you with that. I remember.
One time, a little boy wanted a little brother so bad, he got a little sister instead. He cried. 12 years later, he was on first base in a softball game. His sister hit a home run. Before dinner, she gave him a hug. She said, I wanted you to score so bad. I could never have done that if you weren't on first base for me.
Nice.
She wanted him to score so bad, bless her heart. Everybody at the table laughed and cried so hard. Mom and Dad served spumoni ice cream instead of salad.
Nice.
They all slept so well that night they overslept. The whole world forgave them. The family said, damn, we couldn't have helped him even if we wouldn't. It was enigmatic.
Yes. And yet puzzling.
Privacy surely is important. When you ask someone how they are, then he or she says, okay. One can imagine all sorts of things. Love is like a puppy. It follows us. Sometimes we wish it might stop. But if we look it right in the face and stare, it will lick us in our face until we are messy.
Been there.
What?
I said been there.
You bet you been there. I might have been there. I don't know why.
It's your poem, you know.
Yeah. See, I think I have something else. Here's one. I don't think it's too long. I like short things. They don't weigh so much and they're easier to carry.
Thank you.
I just thought I'd share that with you. I think I have another. Oh yeah. Now let us not grieve our losses and tragedies. Let's mourn the love we have been afraid to give.
Nice.
I'll just leave you with a quote here. You can't argue with an opinion.
All right, so Cat in the Land of Ragoon, then Martin Joseph, before our features come and tell me what the heck it is we're doing around here. Give her a round of applause as she comes up here, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
All right.
I'll just back up and that'll be fair.
No, it was here in that.
My first is a little kind of a song for Alice because she talked about Ginsberg, and this is actually was an interval between Georgia O'Keeffe, who had was turning blind, and Ginsberg, and it's called "What Do I Believe?" Allen Ginsberg asked me if I believe in something more than I can see. But I feel shadows and I smell the sage. I am embraced by all that I believe and cannot say if that is faith. The first star in the evening is the promise that the world will shine with candles when the sun is gone. And I am blind and see the evening star. Thank you. We know there have been tremendous tragedies, on our border, Syria. I think of all the deaths and the deaths that we have chronicled of children. And of course in Gaza, we know the March to Return brought deaths that AOC even called massacres, which took some courage, I guess, on her part. But I had not known about all the preemies who were dying because of the electricity that is cut off for 6 hours at a time intentionally in these little hospitals, and the mothers are taken away and sent, their visas have expired. So the preemies, many they say, are dying because they don't have the breast milk they need, or the electricity is off, and the nurses are in there, and there are very few nurses, trying desperately to massage them so they can breathe. I am very small, It is hard to breathe and my mommy is gone. I wonder about the world when I want to drink from a warm breast, feel milk and love, feel someone's hand, hold on to someone. I am very small. The world is large. They take my mommy away and leave me on machines that sometimes stop, and the world disappears in darkness. Umbrella. An umbrella hangs despondently brushed and rippled occasionally by a nearby negligible breeze. A price tag is still attached, weather-beaten and limp, forgotten over the years. The multi-striped umbrella waits on a cool San Francisco corner for patrons to sit beneath her folds and speak of candy and kings, or of the supermoon, decry homelessness, find solutions to global warming, climate change, condemn the desecration of Native American lands and water through fracking or oil pipelines, in spite of countless ancient treaties ratified to protect the indigenous peoples and their sacred land. The umbrella waits to hear answers to planetary disasters, to hear demands for justice, fairness, compassion, an end to poverty, an answer to a future president's plans, to dismantle environmental protections, to strip away rights of immigrants. The umbrella is ready to hear calls to end hatred, solutions to violence and war, to streaming refugees fleeing violence and destroyed cities. But fleeing where? The umbrella hangs despondently, waiting for hope, waiting to be raised on a cool corner of San Francisco to defy the breezes of discontent, to defy hatred, injustice, rejection of human rights, xenophobia, and ignorance, to defy the desecration of our planet and its people, to stand tall, sheltering new ideas, sheltering compassion for humanity and for the world. The umbrella hangs, scarcely moving, yet unfurled over an empty table, circled by silent chairs, on a cool corner in San Francisco. And I have two little flag poems for tomorrow. A flag waves, soaking in the rain, still blowing. Flags wave all over the earth. Each country celebrates a flag to celebrate itself, separate, distinct, national, to celebrate patriarchy, patriotism, to celebrate difference. Perhaps we all, each nation, could have one flag, one white flag, soaking in the rain, blowing in the sunshine, to celebrate each other, to celebrate peace, pacifism, to celebrate affinity, empathy. Perhaps each nation could have one flag or no flag at all.
Yeah.
Should I do the last one? Okay. No more flags.
Martin, Joseph, are you ready, dear?
Thank you.
Martin, Joseph, give him a round. Thank you, Karen. Give her a nice round. I like that poem about the flag. That was good. Okay, and then why don't we move this a little bit like that? Wait a minute. You're in the shade. Oh, that's better.
Good evening, Sacred Grounds.
Good evening, Mr. Martin Joseph.
All right. This poem is called The Center of the Universe. In me, she said, as if she were the center of the universe. Now, it appeared to me as if I was the center of the universe, or for anyone else that it might appear that they were the center of the universe. Monsieur Descartes knew this. Einstein said it was all relative, and I just told him to shut up. I've seen as far as the Virgo supercluster, of which our Milky Way is an unrecognizable grain of sand, and felt far beyond that to the great attractor. I do not believe that in the farthest reaches of space, way over on the other side of the universe, that anyone really cares that Donald Trump is president. Although the vastness of it is a beauty to behold, full of miracles like the creation of water in outer space and volcanoes of frozen methane. I do not think that it needs a designing intelligence. Random chance and a nearly infinite amount of time will do quite nicely. If you want to use the word God, go ahead and define it any way you want. Might I suggest just a quarter of an inch beyond anything that you know, any place of which you are aware, any thoughts that you might have had. On some islands in the South Pacific just after World War II, God was a cargo plane. For others in America in the 1950s, he took the form of Billy Graham. My friend Misha is so convinced of his logic that the only logical conclusion is agnosticism, that uncertainty is the only certainty. Very Heisenbergian by definition. As for me, I think there is a lovely logic to considering that she is indeed the center of the universe. I don't mind at all not being the center of the universe. In fact, I feel privileged, very privileged, to be so very close to the center of it all. Thank you.
With the centrist's version of the philosophical ramifications thereby. You know, a friend of mine saw a bumper sticker, and on the bumper sticker was on the back of the car, and it was a picture of a white flag, and the caption was, "The only Southern flag that really matters." Oh, that was funny. Anyway, I get to do what I like. One of the things I like the most is raise the microphone, raise the roof.
So we have a trio of individuals who are going to be coming up here at this moment, because who has perspectives, clarity, courage, and just don't get on his wrong side, because he can be sneaky. No, he's from Philadelphia, for crying out loud. You gotta watch that. I'm from New York, but we know from Philadelphia. And then Ed Q, the third individual of the trio, is an elderly gentleman of note and merit whose poetry is abstract in some sense, but compassionate and passionate in others. I do not want to go on further because we have to figure out what we're doing here. But there are three going to come up here, and we're celebrating or recognizing the Stonewall riot of 50 years ago, right? Yeah. 50 years ago. And very fascinating stories that I've heard circulated from that event. I wasn't there because I was probably in school. I was in high school, I think. High school, I think. 72 I graduated, so yeah. Anyway, bring them up here, give them a nice round of applause. They're going to tell me what we're doing, or they're going to tell us what you're doing, and we'll figure this out.
So how are we going to do these things? I'm going to let you just...
Yeah, we're just going to take over.
Where's Ed?
Okay, we're taking over.
Where's Ed? Right here. Oh! Oh! Okay.
We're taking over tomorrow.
All right, now Woo! As they say.
In the spirit of Stonewall, we are taking over.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you're a cop, watch your ass. So I came up with this idea because this is the 50th anniversary of Stonewall riots. For any of you who don't know, the Stonewall was a bar in New York in the West Village that was raided regularly by the cops, run by the mafia. It was illegal to serve liquor to a queer person. It was a state law. It was also illegal to do drag. You could be arrested and thrown in jail for it. And the mafia ran the bars, and the way that they got away with it was they paid off the cops. If they missed their payment, the cops would raid the bar, carry out anybody who didn't have proper ID or anybody they didn't like the looks of, and then their names would be published in newspapers the next day, so they would lose their jobs and their families and everything else. And that's the times that was the context for not only Stonewall, but there were several riots before Stonewall that didn't give birth to the movement that Stonewall gave birth to. So I just felt like in this wonderful location here at Sacred Grounds, I thought it would be good if the three of us, as gay male poets, and also as poets, I think, who've inherited that legacy of Stonewall, to just do whatever we want to do. There's really no formula here. It's just going to be us reading poems and saying whatever we want to say, but all in the context of 50 years after a riot that changed the world and how the world sees not only us, but I think it's affected straight people as well as queer people. Certainly has opened up the doors around gender and gender identity and shown us that gender is not a binary. So I think maybe I'll kick it off. So I thought I would kick it off with a little something that talks about what the world was like in 1969. I was a taboo subject, the love that dare not speak its name, a topic unfit to be discussed in polite company, a mental illness, a sin, the product of an overprotective mother and weak or absent father, a threat to Western civilization, a symptom of capitalist or bourgeois decadence, a gay agenda, a pervert, deviant, limp-wristed, sissy pansy, a vice, someone who only came out at night, a gay cancer, a threat to marriage and the family, something no one would ever want to be.
Wow.
Great pun!
Great pun! Good voice!
Stonewall. What does it take to make a stone wall crumble and turn it from brick to sand? Hand in hand, in defiance, they took a stand against the man. What does it take to make a stone wall tumble, leaving a pile of gravel and grain? The demand for basic rights despite the mental and physical pain. What does it take to make a stone wall rumble? Lesbian, gays, and trans took to the street to fight the police when they only came to dance. What does it take to make a stone wall stumble? Smashing of rocks and blocks to dust? The true expression of gay liberation lies in the struggle, not just the lust. What does it take to make a stone wall tumble and shake it to its core? It can happen anytime people finally decide to not take it anymore.
Present my cue.
These are the dark angels. In love, we meet through choices. In a limbo of confusion to consecrate the present, the only triumph. Some future moment waits on this, how we can weigh frenzy in the fruit. We journey from dark into dark on our own feet, drawn by the first spring odors of narcissus and hyacinth. Shaped by pasts we select to learn from, oriented, disoriented by experiences, we come to clinging to inviolable prose and icons and longing to put our feet by family simply, crudely. It's necessary to accept the dark angels' tomorrow's promise.
Tommy.
Yes. This is called Gender Blur. I love blurring, leaving shadows of things in my wake. Like that nude descending the stairs, I'm fully exposed. People can't see the nakedness. They imagine I'm a mystery. I couldn't be more obvious. I shed gender like a snake. I spin a cocoon when I need to transform. Fluidity is a gift that was stolen from us, beaten out of us, condemned by religion, by social norms. There are more things in heaven and gender than dreamt of in your philosophy. I won't go away to make you feel more comfortable. I've done that in the past. It's time you simply get used to it.
Oh.
Great time.
Great time. I'm giving you an idea about what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right, there you go.
They say, how can you be black and gay? They say, choose one or the other way. They say, the way you're living will disgrace the family name. They say, we don't want to see you get sick and die of AIDS. They say, Jesus loves you, sinner, now come get saved. They say, you know you're causing your mama pain. They say, if your daddy had a known, he'd be rolling in his grave. They say, that punk-ass shit is just a white man's game. They say, marriage between man and woman is the only way. They say, being a sissy is the furthest from being brave. They say, they're not in denial. They just hate your lifestyle. But they love you anyway. Or so they say.
Make haste, the ear will be deaf. I watch a tongue of blue flame I am passing on through the darkness. Make haste, the ear will be deaf. I rode my little white pony. I could not reach the bell, it was so very beautiful. Dreaming saved me from sadness. I made my way to the gardens, while the heartbeats bruise it. My father thought me an odd child. He was uninfluenced by the weather. He wanted to buy my head. I was very stupid about machines. He prisoned me in schools. I went to expensive teachers. I didn't care why water went downhill. My father, he would not let go. Dreaming saved me. Dreaming saved me from sadness. When I was 14, I learned to love my friend, but then he went away. He vanished out of my life. He went like sunlight on water. I became a mountain of ice. Make haste, the ear will be deaf. There was silver silent wind. The river was a sheet of steel. But dreaming saved me from sadness. Then that was over. The thirst was gone. I rode my little white pony. It is so very beautiful. I watch a tongue of blue flame. I am making my way to the gardens. I cannot reach the bell while the heart beats. Bruise it. Make haste. The ear will be deaf. The rules of chaos travel to the line's end. Reasoning animals clutch organic wares. Experimenting in social soil. For had you been hatched differently, you might have drowned in learning trees. And some mad parent triumphed.
So, what is that, 11 minutes? Okay, we have 11 minutes, guys.
Yeah, just I'm going like this so you can tell. I don't have to say anything more.
Yes. That's the guy behind the curtain. We have to pay attention to him or we'll never get back to Kansas. 50 years after Stonewall, I actually have to confess that I look in horror at what our pride parades have become. They used to be marches, they used to be protests. The first one that I helped organize in '72 back in Philadelphia, my hometown, one of our demands was an end to the Vietnam War an end to the draft, an end to capitalism. We were part of every movement, and we were coming out of every movement. I had been marching in civil rights movements from the time I was a teenager, and I was involved with SDS on campus, and so we were coming out of all these other movements, and so we had a good sense of the what do they say, that interconnectedness?
Interconnectivity.
There you go, of our movement with everybody else. Anyway, we now have 50 years later, Pride, and this is my thoughts on Pride these days. My pride is defiant and raw. It's not polite. It isn't marketable. It won't show up in the Dow Jones averages. It's not running for office or joining the police force, the military, the church. It won't cooperate with the FBI, CIA, or Homeland Security. It doesn't put kids in cages, tear gas asylum seekers, or criminalize the homeless. It knows that changing laws and electing politicians is not enough. It's not a ribbon, a flag, a beer, or a hashtag. It isn't trending or being tweeted. It's not a Russian bot or a meme. It's not going shopping or something I ordered online. It doesn't stay in an Airbnb or call a Lyft. It doesn't have a buffed body, a designer wardrobe, or a supply of party drugs. It doesn't let me forget the murdered gay men and trans women of color, the years that gay sex and drag were illegal, or how this nation stood by and let my friends die. It understands that no matter how much things seem to change, I'm still not safe. My pride is ever on guard and always in your face.
Home alone.
What's going on?
I'm a solo homo sapiens, a star slowly fading from sight. I'm home and all alone on the range, a stranger in the middle of night. I'm a slow game of poker, trying to decide which cards to play. Holding a royal flush and joker, hiding my hand with Stonewall face. I'm a cool shower or hot soak, a clear statement or murky riddle. I'm an up after hours, stay at home, one and only homie in the middle. I'm an endangered black man. I live with a bull's eye on my back. I'm a break a few rules, old school papa. I got the fever and a brand new bag. I'm a bitch, a fairy, a fruit, and a fag. I'm all the taboo names they say. I've been homo, sissy, and butch, queen, and drag, marching in the rainbow flag parade. I'm a black cat, poet activist. I'm a senior seeking change. I'm a seasoned homo sapiens, burner of the midnight flame. I'm a hometown, homegrown homebody, hanging home alone on the range.
His name was David, and he would have been 50 the week after he died by the hand that ripped out the shunt implanted in his chest. The shunt so that the needles could be inserted into the heart veins, because those in his arms and legs by now had collapsed. David had been an outdoor worker, big and lusty, before he acquired immune deficiencies, surrendering his body to every invasion. When he was 44, just short of his 45th birthday, he entered into to a long-term love with a 25-year-old man named Bill. Call me Bill. The third year, he began his death journey that he completed last month. The week before he died, he'd invited his special friends to celebrate and say goodbye to another California 49er. And the next Saturday, he gathered his pills and told the 30-year-old now goodbye and asked him to come back in 2 hours and to call the police. Well, it was time to die. When I came back at 3, you can call me Bill. He shouted from behind the bathroom door it was taking longer and to go away again. Please, Bill, please. The pills they'd given him were weak or slow. Then in the warm tub, thin man now in commanding water, hair patchy, lower limbs wasted away, David ripped out the tubes to his heart.
How are we doing on time? How are we doing on time, Dan? 4 minutes. Oh. Yeah, wrap it up. Real quick poem. No, I've got a really short one. So, this is in our little anthology from here.
Anthology from here.
Yeah, St. Brown's anthology, and this is kind of my anthem these days. They told me not to touch myself, not to love another man, not to want to have control of my own body. They told me I must be a man, never a woman, act and dress a certain way, never be neither or both. They told me I must wave the flag, kneel in prayer, work hard, believe I'm free. They told me never speak up, never challenge anything, because this is the way it's always been. They told me I was sick, cited diagnostic manuals, religious texts they had written. They told me I didn't know what was best for me, but I knew enough not to listen to them.
Great time.
All right, survivors. From Stonewall to disco to bathhouse to AIDS, from marginalization to police raids, liberation, pride parades. We've come a long way, baby, with a long way left to go. Though we've lost too many along the way, so many not here anymore. We have survived to fight for the right to simply be, to love who we choose and live with dignity. We move past violence and disease, ridicule and shame. We are the ones that still remain.
Nice. That's my cue.
Take us home, man.
Yeah.
The early grape. We are the early grape, flat, dry, and cloudy, and the time is short. But some days never end. There is no joyous lake, there is no incantation that can bend the moment back into patterns we may see too late. Wait for tomorrow, tomorrow never comes. Wait for tomorrow, tomorrow never comes. And three's a crowd, the spunky ones, the cream in your coffee. I know, we said. That's the thing. Do it now. Early wine is flat, dry, and cloudy, and some days never end. There is no joyous lake. There is no incantation that can bend the moment back into the patterns we may see too late.
That's all, folks.
All right, give it a nice round. Come on, that was great. Woo! Bravo! Yeah. There we go. Nice.
I have a little protest.